Welcome to #FinanceMaster, a weekly show where Anders Liu-Lindberg discusses the latest trends in finance and accounting. Kick back, relax, and enjoy this week's show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the #FinanceMaster show. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. We're live wherever you want us to be live. Maybe not, but at least on various channels. Another week just flew by, and here we are again talking about hacking the annual wheel of finance. This time we are trying to move a bit forward in time and look ahead instead of just looking back at month ends and year ends, and actually looking at quarterly forecasting. The rules of the show are simple. You can take part by leaving comments and questions either on LinkedIn or on YouTube, wherever you're tuning in from. We'll bring them up and try to answer your questions here. And, let us know where you're tuning in from. Just say hello from anywhere. We have already Priti saying hi from India. So hi, Priti. Nice to have you here. But if you have questions, we will bring them up during the show. We will also ask you questions, so maybe you have something to add as well. And if you have an insightful comment, we will also bring that up. So we're here with you all the way, and you are the ones making this show interesting and dynamic. I'm just talking through some of our perspectives. But with that, let's try to get into it. And maybe I should say that we are, of course, recording this to be released as a podcast on all your favorite channels. And since we are now live on YouTube as well, we're also recording the video, and it's going to be released there afterwards as well. In fact, we just released the first LinkedIn Live show we did with Bill from IBM talking about AI-driven forecasting, so also relevant for today's topic. So if you haven't checked that out already, please go and do that. And I can see we already have Amina Salim saying hi from Kenya. We have Catherine saying hi from Switzerland, and Ronaldo hi from Brazil. So with that, we just crossed the 4 continents: India, we had Africa, we had Europe, and Brazil as well. We also have Alusign checking in from Saudi Arabia. Great to have you all here. Thanks a lot for that. Thanks a lot for being here. I'm incredibly humble for you to take out your time to listen a bit to me. But let's try to jump into it. Quarterly forecasting, your view of the future. We just released the blog post this morning on LinkedIn, so in case you want to read it, you can also find it in the newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, go and do that. Join more than 300,000 people having subscribed to the newsletter, Trends in Finance and Accounting. Wow, that's also amazing. So thanks a lot for doing that also. But let's dig into it. We live in a volatile environment where visibility is often limited. Most companies have abandoned the idea that a budget is sufficient to provide that visibility. Continuous update of the full year estimate are also deemed to fall short of expectations. That's why most companies have taken up rolling forecasting in the past decade. I myself have been part of implementing a rolling forecasting process in a company I previously worked in. This ensures you always have a forecast that extends beyond the current year and lets you calculate your performance runway and check if you are indeed on the hockey stick trajectory you plan in your strategy. Speaking of strategy, we'll talk about that next week when speaking about strategic planning, so stay tuned also for that. However, there's a flip side to rolling forecasting. In many companies, it has grown into a 4 to 6 week process that consumes a lot of corporate resources. To many, it feels like doing the budget 4 times per year. This is obviously not what was intended. So it's perhaps time to remind everyone of some best practices for rolling forecasting and provide some hacks to improve the process. To learn about the adaptation on rolling forecasting, we ran a recent poll on LinkedIn. 58% said, yes, we are doing rolling forecasting. 25% said no. And 17% didn't know what a rolling forecast is. And sure, maybe there are some following that don't know about finance, so perhaps those are the ones. But most finance professionals know what it is, and obviously more than half have implemented it already. So this confirms our hypothesis that rolling forecasting is widespread, but our follow-up also showed that there's a significant potential to improve forecasting in companies worldwide. So let's start by realigning on some best practices for doing rolling forecasting. Number 1, clear objectives. Define clear objectives with your rolling forecast process and ensure that it has a set place in your company's standard operating model. Number 2, forecast horizon. Determine a forecast horizon that aligns with your business cycle. Most companies choose a 5-quarter horizon when they first implemented rolling forecasts. However, don't blindly follow this approach. Driver-based. The rolling forecast should be built on a driver-based model for easy updates, faster scenario analysis, and easier drill down and follow up on performance. Cross-company. Don't make it an isolated finance exercise, but include input from your S&OP process, HCM, headcount management process, and other planning processes, and involve them when discussing the outputs and action planning from the forecast process. Leverage technology. If this is a frequent and repeatable process, be sure to run it on some proper technology. Spreadsheets won't cut it in the long run. Accuracy and relevance. Accept that your forecast won't be accurate, and instead spend your time and efforts on the issues that are relevant to improving company performance. Measure accuracy, but don't punish or reward people for the outcomes. Instead, learn why you're inaccurate to drive continuous improvement. And finally, scenario planning. Develop more than just one scenario when you create your rolling forecast. As a minimum, have a base, high, and low scenario, but also be ready to do event-specific scenarios. Always helpful. These are the most important best practices. Yet, implementing a rolling forecast is a bigger project that requires quite some dedication and commitment from the entire organization, from top management to team leaders and individuals. Perhaps it's an extensive process to implement. It also becomes an extensive process to run. Quickly, it defeats the purpose of having an agile process that quickly gives you a glimpse into the future for your company. That's why we need to look at some hacks to improve the process. But before that, I'm curious, do you have a rolling forecast in your company? Let us know in the comments. You can just say yes or no. You can also expand on it. Happy to bring those up, and just curious to see kind of the mood here. And I can see we have some more hellos coming in. We have Sufyan from Saudi. We have Mohammed from Egypt. And we also have Agu, maybe I'm pronouncing it wrongly, I'm not sure, from Angola. So thanks a lot, everyone, for tuning in. That's so appreciated. And I can see more and more coming in as well here. More from India, Pakistan, Vietnam, Saudi and Kenya again, India. Wow, lots of people tuning in. Egypt here again, Kenya and Angola. So that's really amazing. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Nigeria also coming up here. Really nice. We also have Raibul here asking what automation can be adopted to gather all relevant information from budgeting and forecasting reports from respective departments. It's been a pain collecting information from different teams. I fully get that. And especially if you're doing this through Excel-based templates, you create a template, you send it out via email, and you get something back and they have added a line so it doesn't consolidate with the other templates you get back. I mean, there's plenty of planning tools out there. And if you're a smaller company, there's a lot of third generation planning tools as well. If you want more insights into the planning tool market, especially the third generation planning tool market, feel free to reach out to me and I will share our third generation planning guide with you without any cost added, where you can then dig into some of these tools that are very cost effective, and a lot of them built on top of Excel, so it's easy to spreadsheets, so it's easy to implement as well. So don't be a stranger, just reach out, and I'm happy to share some of those. We have a LinkedIn user here saying no, they don't have a rolling forecast. Someone complaining about the signal. For some people, it doesn't always work. I'm sorry about that. Then you can also check back in on YouTube later to see the video. We also have Rwanda tuning in, Colombia, Jordan, Saudi again, India, and another one saying no, and another one from Vietnam. So mostly people saying no so far. But thanks a lot for sharing insights. Again, if you have rolling forecasts, say yes. If you don't, say no. We'll collect these answers in a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about 5 hacks to improve quarterly forecasting. As we have been doing throughout this series here, we'll try to focus on practical and implementable hacks. But since we've already shared some best practices in this in this article here, we'll dare to be a bit bolder this time. You can then tell me if I'm bold or not, but that's a different story. So the first hack is agile forecasting. Implement agile methodologies in forecasting by creating small cross-functional teams responsible for specific parts of the forecast. Use iterative cycles with rapid updates. Hack number 2, leverage AI. Okay, that's seems like a no-brainer these days, but okay. Deploy AI and machine learning algorithms to predict future outcomes based on historical data and current trends. You can use platforms like DataRobot or Amazon Forecast or Azure ML to automate the forecasting process and continuously improve accuracy through learning. Hack number 3, real-time forecasting. Use systems that integrate and update forecasts in real time based on transactional data. Enable continuous forecast updates instead of periodic ones, providing always current insights. Hack number 4, forecasting COEs. COE stands for Center of Excellence. Establish a COE to develop best practices, tools, and methodologies for forecasting across the organization. Focus on continuous improvement, training, and innovation in forecasting. It doesn't mean that the whole organization won't necessarily be involved in forecasting from time to time, but a lot of the forecasting process can actually be done centrally. So why not put that in the COE? Finally, digital humans. Use AI-driven digital humans, or virtual assistants, if you will, to conduct forecasting, meetings, provide insights, and even make recommendations based on forecast data. Digital humans can answer questions and generate reports using natural language, making the forecasting process more intuitive. You can probably even challenge your forecasting process if the numbers that you forecast are not aligned with what's expected in a strategy. We're particularly excited about the digital humans option, and don't think for a second it's unreal. This has already been showcased by Microsoft CFO Amy Hood years ago, and it's what's being built into all AI assistants today. I spent some time at SAP Sapphire not so long ago, seeing what their AI assistant Joule can do, and you'd be amazed. You can query anything about your data. Of course, you need to have your data in a state that is actually usable, but it's possible today. So there's cause to be optimistic for implementing any of these hacks. Question to you: how long does your forecast process take to run, and how frequently do you run it? Let us know in the comments. Don't be a stranger. We have someone here saying yes about having a rolling forecast. So no again. Sudan checking in. Yes here from someone else. So there are some that have rolling forecast. It's good to hear. At least it aligns a bit more with our data. So how long does it take? You can just say 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 days. Let us know. And how frequently you run it? Is it every quarter? Maybe every month? Maybe only once a year? Let's hear. Just put it in the comments. Always happy, of course, to get some insights from all of you. While you think about that, let's talk about how to implement these hacks. So these hacks are independent of each other, but will usually increase the effectiveness of each other as well. And maybe some of them, perhaps agile forecasting and forecasting COEs, could be competing hacks even. But let's show how to implement these. So in terms of agile forecasting, you first need to create the cross-functional teams, these small dedicated teams to handle their specific parts of the forecast. Then have them work on iterative cycles. Use could be 2 to 4 week sprints, but maybe shorter perhaps. It could even be a week. Focus on priority areas. And then every day you have regular stand-ups where you do short daily meetings to discuss progress and remove roadblocks. For AI, prepare the data, collect and clean historical data. Choose your tools. We mentioned some, but there's a ton of others you can use. Train your model to predict the trends, and then integrate that into your forecasting workflow. For real-time forecasting, you need to set up real-time data feeds, so integrate to your existing systems, but it could also be external data sources. Find automation tools so that it actually, you don't have to have humans to run the process. And there's lots of tools that can do that, Alteryx, Tableau, just to name a few. And then do continuous monitoring, right? Because obviously you should do something with the data you have available. You can probably build automated alerts that will alert you when trends are moving unfavorably. For forecasting COEs, could be a bit of a long implementation cycle, but create a dedicated team responsible for developing, best practices in tools and forecasting. Standardization, create standardized templates, could be in spreadsheets, of course, but usually in systems and models for use across departments. And then do training where needed to ensure that the COE and the other input providers of the forecast are ready to do that. Finally, on the digital human part, select and customize your platform. So choose the digital human platform. And there's lots of to do there as well. IBM Watson as an example. And tailor digital avatars to your business context. Integrate data systems, connect your forecasting tools and data sources to the digital human for real-time interaction and updates. Develop natural language processing capabilities. So train your digital human to understand forecasting models and respond to user queries using natural language processing. And finally, deploy and refine. So launch the digital human for interactive forecasting and gather user feedback and continuously improve their knowledge and responses. I'm getting excited about this. I don't know. Are you getting excited about this? Maybe give a thumbs up, like whatever we can do on the various platforms. Curious to hear that as well. I can see we are getting a few responses in here quarterly, and it takes 1 month. Okay, yeah, so that's 4 months a year. That's taking up time with forecasting here from Ahmad. We have 4 to 6 weeks here from Mahib as well. Monthly basis from Islam. Weekly forecast even. Okay, so I hope that don't take a month to run. That would be a bit paradoxical. At least maybe it could take a few hours then. And so the video and audio is coming up with some breaks everyone. We'll have to work with the team to see how we can fix that moving forward. It's always a bit of a challenge to do these lives. So keep the comments coming in. We have Niasi here, Ahmad saying, is there any software in market that help connect FP&A with other departments to get data to prepare budgets and forecast? Yes, a lot of tools available for that. Not doing too many shout outs here, but I'm actually doing a webinar in 40 minutes with Jedox, one of those providers, and they definitely focus a lot on what we call integrated business planning. So basically gathering this input from across the company and running all these different forecasting processes in parallel. So yes, getting data in Excel, I can see it from Appman as well, is not an ideal way to do this. So yes, lots of tools are available. Reach out if you want some insight into the market. I'm not going to give specific tool recommendations, but many of them can solve your issues. So thanks a lot for sharing it as well and leaning in with lots of questions and input today. But many companies have already started leveraging some of these hacks, not least forecasting using machine learning. The aim should be to reduce your forecasting cycle to around 1 week. Of course, if you do it weekly, maybe a few hours, ideally. Not only will this cut a lot of corporate waste, but it will also enable you to forecast on demand. Instead of a predefined forecasting cycle, you only forecast when unexpected events occur, or you actually stray too far from your latest forecast. This could be biannually or monthly, depending on the current volatility on your market. These hacks will undoubtedly be an upgrade to your assessing process. But even if you're not in the mood for picking up these hacks, you can simply apply the best practices we've also outlined. So final question for you. Which of these hacks could you consider implementing? And perhaps do you have any other hacks you'd like to share? And if you don't get to share them here on the live stream, you can always leave them in the comments on LinkedIn or on YouTube, and we'll pick them up later on when the videos gets circulated. We also have here Ama from Ethiopia tuning in. Thanks a lot. Nice to see you. And thanks to everyone else for tuning in. That's definitely always a pleasure. And feel free to answer some of the previous questions as well. Do you have a rolling forecast? Yes, no, let us know. And how long does it take to run your forecasting cycle? We have quite some not long in a relative way, because all companies have those long cycles, but in an absolute way, quite long cycles already. Great interaction from all of you this time around. I really, really appreciate that. That's what makes the show come alive. We also try to have more guest speakers come in the coming months as we try to get even better at these lives. We had a great live show with Sishan Pervez last week, just after our weekly live show, where he shared insights on business partnering in the Middle East. And that was a great show. It took an hour and lots of great questions coming in as well. So we'll try to do more of that also. But if you have any last questions, feel free to put them in the chat or whatever we call it in the comments, wherever you're tuning in from. Happy to bring them up as well. Next week we will talk about strategic planning. So let's say the biggest opportunity, I would say, to make an impact as finance professionals, but probably the one we spend the least time on. Everything else we have been talking about probably should be feeding into that. But at the end of the day, strategic value creation is the highest form of value creation in companies because we make huge choices that have a huge impact on how we run the company. So I hope to see you next week also. And also hello to Ahmed tuning in there. And he's saying annually in terms of their forecasting cycle. I would recommend probably to do forecasting a bit more frequently because the world is a bit volatile and becomes more and more volatile all the time. And we also have Falhan tuning in from Indonesia. Wow, we've really been around the world for this show here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks for all your great input, all your great comments, all your great questions. Thanks a lot for that. I can really feel like the forecasting topic has been a popular one. But as I said, next week we're back with the topic of strategic planning. And until then, you can always catch me on LinkedIn. You can catch the video on demand. You can comment on the video as well, and I'll be sure to pick that up. And we'll be releasing these on YouTube. We'll be releasing the recording as a podcast as well. So there's always opportunity to check back in on this show and also previous shows. We have more than 80 shows, I think, now live on the podcast. So always great opportunities to check in. But my name is Anders Liu-Lindberg, and I'm tuning out from the #FinanceMaster show from this week. Hope to see you again next week.
You've been listening to #FinanceMaster. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on the latest trends in finance and accounting.